So we are really excited about that. It brings the online hits to the top so that you don't have to go in and do an extra search for those digital copies, and it brings a lot more to the foreground. There's going to be a lot of more digital things in here. We have some PDFs in here right now and some different databases that it brings in as well. So I encourage you to check it out, and I'd love to hear your feedback. Right now, we even have a post up on our blog, Narrations, and we're asking for feedback and wish list ideas for online public access as we move forward. And you can come over for your checks out and let us know what you think and what we should do. One thing we are also working on that's not in the prototype is tagging, because we think tagging is really important. And from our experience on Flickr, we've seen it's a huge potential. And I also want comments too, but they're like, you don't have money for comments now, you have money for tags. So this rollout, again, it's always going to be iterative. So this rollout, we're looking at the requirements for tagging and the policies that we're going to have around it, because we think that the work that folks like you who help crowdsource making the materials more accessible is so important. All right, I think I should probably wrap up, because I know the tours are supposed to leave in like 5 minutes. But I could talk about this a lot, and so if you have questions, you can find me later on in the day, and I'd be happy to talk to you. Thanks.
Bear with me. For those who weren't here for this morning's introduction, I am a podcaster, so I'm compulsively recording myself. Just getting my levels. I heard that. I'm taking it.
I wonder if anybody in here has actually edited an article and put done at WikiXDC.
I actually went on this, I was doing a live Twitter feed, but now I forgot my
Okay. I seriously am a podcaster. I'm a hacktivist. My name is Thomas Gideon. And I'm here to talk to you about FedFlix, which is a relatively small part of the larger world of access to information. I happen to think it's unique, especially the International Amateur Scanning League, that's not full, which offers some interesting potential lessons for other efforts to digitize public content. Digitization is just one leg of the broad effort to make our shared cultural heritage openly available. There are those fighting to improve the state of copyright, like EFF, public knowledge, and question copyright. Others are building new works of knowledge being committed directly into new open digital commons, like, of course, Wikipedia. All the creators and services using the Creative Commons and the immense space of free, Libre, and open source software. FedFlix is a niche effort among that digitization cohort. For comparison, you may be familiar with the work of Brewster Kahle at the Internet Archives and the well-known collections now housed there, like the Collinger Archives. In preparing for this talk, Carl Malamud, who runs FedFlix, a joke that we are a minor religious sect in the broader Wiki, OpenGov, A2K, CC movement. If you've ever been out to College Park, especially on a Saturday, working in the unearthly quiet of the video collection is definitely a very monastic experience. As small as FedFlix and IASL are, we are fortunate to be aided both by several dozen people within the government and by folks at the services that host the results of our efforts, including Google staff at YouTube and, of course, Brewster Kahle, who I already mentioned, and his colleagues who run the Internet Archive. I am an IASL master scanner, and I help FedFlix by working as a local volunteer. Usually agencies working with NTIS and FedFlix send small batches of disks or tapes for ripping and upload. Unlike other FedFlix video sources, the collection I work on is immense. There are thousands of disks at the National Archives campus in College Park. Volunteer scanners such as myself contribute to FedFlix by duplicating DVDs on site for bulk shipment to where they'll be ripped and uploaded alongside those smaller contributions. None of the DVDs at NARA 2, that's the short name for the archives at College Park, are original material, just local digital copies produced at the request of and for the benefit of researchers working on site. The DVDs alone include an amazing wealth of material. The 3,000 discs occupy a standing set of shelves, roughly the size of that back wall, maybe about 8 feet tall. My favorites include a title on the dive bombers from World War II and a training film about Johnny Cool called The Real Person, which is kind of like opening a time capsule from the 1960s. The titular hero entertains Walter Mitty-like fantasies, the different kinds of people he might be, frogman, biker. It's pretty crazy. I'll include a link for anybody who's listening to this on my podcast after the fact to the video in question. And during the breaks, if anybody wants to copy down the very long and arcane YouTube URL, please come and see me. It even features a cheesy prop computer that tabulates advice for Johnny Cool. As near as I can tell, it was intended to provide career advice to the enlisted. We don't have a lot of information as good as ArcWeb is about the provenance of these films, or actually more than the provenance, kind of the context from which they arrive. I really enjoyed this one. It has more in common, I think, with a variety show skit than a film made by the armed services. There's also training material for various civil services like firefighters, including smoke jumpers, and those in the forestry services. There are original documentary shows produced for television broadcasts like Longines Chronoscope and The Big Picture that last aired decades ago, and so much more. Those few thousand discs are just a small fraction of the many thousands of tapes and films in the collection out at NARA 2. In about 6 months, a handful of dedicated volunteers working mostly on weekends has duplicated about 2/3 of these discs. How many of you even knew that this treasure trove out in College Park existed? Okay, put your hand up, kid. Of those of you who had some notion how many knew of the films through watching the FedFlix channel on YouTube or viewing the FedFlix collection on the Internet Archive?
Or seeing the presentation by Kate.
Or seeing the presentation, oh, you've stolen my thunder. All of the discs IASL volunteers are duplicating should be available online. With few exceptions, all of the works in the film collection were produced with public funds and are in the public domain. For a variety of reasons, the only way you can see these videos, well, before we started, it was to purchase any of a small set published by Amazon. And there's an interesting story, you should come and talk to me after the break about it, about how we kind of pulled off some interesting jujitsu on that collection. Or to go to College Park in person and register as a researcher. Since we've started working out at College Park, that actually has started to change. I'm very happy to hear folks from the archives talk this morning about embracing volunteer efforts, digitization, and online public access. I'm excited to see how the archives proceeds and believe that as they discuss digitization and working with volunteers, that they keep us, the scanners, in mind. I can't imagine that the effort it took originally to transfer from film to digital format embedded in a BOB file in a DVD is any greater than it would take to produce a format suitable for serving online. Imagine plugging dedicated open media volunteers deeper into that transfer process, capturing files for streaming and sharing right at the source. Better yet, let's replicate this model, tapping Wikipedians, creative commenters, and others wherever they are to help with local digitization efforts. If a handful of volunteers working on weekends is able to open up some 3,000 videos for use beyond the small professional research community to fuel more creative and information projects, remix, B-roll, and the like, think of what we could do if we could just scale the idea a little bit further. Thank you.
Kind of stuff, and my job has largely been trying to get some of that onto the web. Hopefully I'm going to get back to that in a second. And please, when I get in your 5 minutes, be sure to wave, because I don't want to get lost. So a lot of what I'm going to talk about is what's up here, this quote from Wikipedia itself. I'm not a huge editor of Wikipedia, but I'm I really appreciate all the hard work that this community does in doing this right here. So when facts are stated on Wikipedia, there's a real effort to link those facts back to citations, to back up what you're actually writing in there. And so this is kind of redundant. I don't know if you can actually see it, but this is just an example of a Wikipedia page, right? And there's a fact in here about the grand jury transcripts and facts that are contained in those transcripts. And, we have citations here, 21 and 22, or footnotes, that take you down into here. And the great thing about Wikipedia is you can follow, sorry if you can't see it in the back, but you can follow these links, unlike traditional citations in the print world where you have to go to the library you know, look it up in the catalog, find it, get the book out, or whatever it is. You know, on the web, you click on that link and you